Hello, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, 3 Ways to Take the Disaster Out of Cloud DR. I'm Kevin Collins from Unitrends, and I'm here with Dick Sappler, a product management, and he'll be taking us through the presentation today. And don't forget, one lucky attendee will be walking away with a $100 Amazon gift card. We'll contact the winner via email after the webinar. But before we get started, I'd like to cover a few housekeeping items. The session will be recorded, and after the event, you'll receive an email with a link to the on-demand version of the webinar. I would also encourage you to ask questions throughout the presentation. You can do so by typing them into the bottom right-hand corner of the player in the Q&A box. We'll answer your questions at the end of the session. At this point, I'll turn it over to Dick. Enjoy the presentation, and Dick, take it away.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. Hey, I appreciate everybody joining me today, and I hope I won't take up too much of your time. But as Kevin said, my name's Dick Sappler. I'm the Product Marketing Manager for Unitrends. Part of my job is actually managing the Customer Success Program, so I do get the opportunity to talk to a lot of our customers every week. And so I want to take 30 minutes or so to take you through some of the DR best practices and the results of our customers are having with our DR program, particularly when it comes to the cloud. So first I wanted to share the results of our recent survey on disaster recovery and the cloud. This will help you understand a little bit better about how the cloud is being utilized today and what some of the leaders are doing that you might want to take advantage of in the future. And then I'll outline the different types of clouds and show how they are, in fact, quite different when it comes to DR services and support. And then finally outline 3 factors that you should consider to keep your cloud DR program from becoming its own disaster. So the survey was good. We had about 838 IT professionals that responded to the survey. We had a good mix of small, mid-sized, and large, and that's always a good sign because you want to have you don't want to have one of those groups dominate the results. And it was conducted in February. Really, the conclusions are that progress is being made in some areas overall, but overall data protection and business continuity remains a challenge, particularly for a small group of about 30% of users. And cloud is placing an increasing, but it's still kind of a minor role in disaster recovery. And hopefully some of the results from this webcast will help change your mind about the role cloud can play. The first finding, we're all dealing with complex data centers, mixed environments. Most companies are protecting a heterogeneous environment, a mix of both physical servers with different operating systems and virtual environments with at least 2 different vendors. What it shows is that you really need a single solution to do backup and data recovery. If you start trying to have multiple backup solutions to cover different aspects of your data center, then what you're doing is you're leaving seams, potential seams, for which applications or data can fall through the cracks. And you really don't want to do that. So you really should be looking for a solution that is a total solution that covers both physical and virtual environments. Another finding is that the amount of volume, the amount of data that we are being asked to protect is growing. And even in just 1 year, we've had substantial increases in data volumes. With similar-sized organizations responding between 2016 and 2017, 13% more respondents are reporting that they are being tasked to protect data volumes between 26 and 100 terabytes, and a whopping 54% are being asked, and more people are being asked to protect volumes over 100 terabytes. And data volumes, you know, they just make the entire business continuity process longer, more complex, and costly as the volume of data we're being asked to protect continues to grow. Most organizations actually have an aggressive recovery time objective, or RTO. And an RTO goal means that at least you have a program that you measure results and are taking steps to improve your performance. So 62% of survey respondents reported that they have aggressive RTO goals of 4 hours or more, and about half of those respondents actually reported they had RTO goals of an hour or less. And these RTO goals are coming at a time when IT professionals have a lot less time and more budgetary pressure to do their jobs. So while they weren't always able to hit those 4-hour goals, at least they're working at it, setting a goal, measuring the results, and working towards improvement. What was a little surprising was that 5% of respondents reported that they had an RTO goal of over 24 hours. Kind of hard to imagine that even being a goal. And another 10% reported that they had no RTO goals at all, which indicates really a complete lack of a DR program. Data loss is still an issue. Last year, 31% of organizations, and this year, 30% of organizations reported they've added a data loss event in the last 2 years. So this continues to be a challenge for us. And again, this is the people who are not doing, who are not setting RTO goals probably as an indicator of who that 30% is. And probably the most shocking finding that we had is that a majority of organizations, about 62%, test their DR plans only once a year or less. That means a majority of people really are not testing their DR plans. And it's really hard. DR and recovery is really difficult. You have to have servers, operating systems, settings, data, software versions all need to be aligned before a business application can be brought back online from a downtime event. And if any single piece of that list is out of step, the entire process fails. The good news is there's some really strong tools that are out there to make recovery testing automatic and easy, and that you absolutely have to use it, particularly if you're in industries such as healthcare, where HIPAA mandates that everybody who's involved in the healthcare industry has to know and document their recovery times. And many other industries have these as well. So there are some very solid tools to help this. But really, even the 12% of people that reported that they test every month, most DR professionals will tell you you need to test even more often than just once a month. And then finally, 80% of responding companies who are not using the cloud have no plans to do so in the next year. So there's still some resistance to using the cloud. The top 4 reasons: cost was 52%, security 45%, loss of control 39%, and data privacy. So just an editorial comment on my side. Some of these are old tapes, as many organizations and cloud providers have moved past these issues. Cloud providers have come a long way in enabling their products to meet security requirements such as HIPAA, which we just talked about, SOX compliance for financial information, and approval to store personal information. Data can be encrypted with military-grade security encryption, and there's physical security in these data centers, cloud data centers. So some of these excuses that people are using for not adopting the cloud really don't hold water for very much anymore. Okay, so let's now turn to the cloud, really the topic of this webinar. And there are really several different types of clouds that you can choose in order to provide disaster recovery and data protection services. So let's consider what a single site organization would choose and where they could go. So the first class of clouds is really what everybody kind of considers cloud, and that's the hyperscale clouds. And that's be Amazon Web Services or AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure. You also have Oracle, Rackspace, NTT, Alibaba, and other players that are in this space. And really what hyperscale means is that there's no limit to how many servers or storage that you can deploy inside of the cloud. You can literally go, and I'm sure they'd be happy to support thousands of servers, petabytes of storage capabilities. There's really no limit. They'll just make more. The second type of cloud provider is it's a service cloud, and it's offered by an MSP, which actually stands for Managed Service Provider, a CSP, a content service provider, and these are people who host a particular service, and it's oriented around a particular application, and that application provides data for particular devices, such as systems or point-of-sale terminals and things like that, or SSPs, and that stands for storage service providers. There are literally thousands of these, and they usually focus on specific markets or applications. Finally, the third class of clouds are clouds that are really focused on continuity services, such as our Unitrends cloud. And these clouds focus all their services on what it takes to provide near instantaneous recovery times. They offer disaster recovery as a service, and they can also act as your failover site in a declared emergency. So the Unitrends Forever Cloud does long-term data storage, but we're different from Amazon Glacier, which is a hyperscale cloud service for archiving. That they actually can take up to 4 hours to recover any applications because they consider it kind of an archive where you're not going to need it except for a legal process or so forth, whereas Unitrends Cloud treats long-term retention and provides immediate recovery. So really here's kind of the model then for the cloud and storage. I did want to point out that in this diagram there are two locations as a secondary site. In our survey, about 50% of respondents reported that they actually manage their own recovery site or a colo location, and they don't really need the cloud because they have a fallback position. I just also wanted to point out that both our recovery series of appliances and our Unitrends Backup virtual appliance really assist this multi-site disaster recovery process. However, if you really are an SMB and you're in a single location, the cloud is ideal, and it's much more cost effective than either spinning up a secondary data site or even a colo, because with those alternatives you have to purchase the equipment, the servers and the storage, and have to pay for them through your capital budgeting process, where with the cloud you literally just pay for what you use. However, there are some very big differences, and let's go through those and explain which is the best for supporting a disaster recovery type of program. Lots of things to consider. For example, do they provide testing capabilities for your recovery program? What do the tests cover? Do they simply look at individual applications, or do they restore your entire operations? Are they able to report the results of the testing, and are you able to use that for audit purposes? We talked about security a bit. Do they support encryption? Do they have access and privacy controls? And do they support specific compliance standards such as SSAE 16, SOC 2, which is used by CPAs, HIPAA, which is medical, and so forth? And can they show you a certificate of proof? And finally, do they offer a service level agreement, an SLA, that guarantees their performance during a failover? So these are some of the things we'll discuss going forward. So really, let's talk about managed service providers right now. And it's really hard to talk about them as a group because there are literally thousands of them. Some of them are very good, and some of them we work with as well at Unitrends. However, most of them tend to be smaller. They tend to be focused on a few applications or providing recovery services for specific industries or groups of users. I will give you one word of caution. That is, if you're a backup solution provider, partners with an MSP cloud, now you have a two-vendor solution for your backup and recovery program. And anytime you have two vendors, you set up an opportunity where there can be some finger pointing or making it difficult to find out where the problem is if you have an issue. So really what you want to do is you really want to find a backup vendor that does it all, provides complete service from the appliance to the application to the software to and to the cloud. So just be careful if you do select to go forward with a managed service provider. that they are a very mixed bag, and you might not get the results that you're looking for. Okay, so let's get into the topic then, really the topic of the webinar, which is 3 factors to consider to avoid having your DR program actually become a disaster. And we'll look at each of these in detail. Basically, what are the services that are offered to support disaster recovery? Secondly, what sort of speed of recovery are these clouds capable of supporting? And then finally, and it's all our focus, costs. So let's focus on disaster recovery services. So needless to say, Unitrends Cloud is totally focused on data protection and recovery. So the services that we offer are really geared around that sort of delivery. Every cloud can do storage, but can they spin up your failed applications when you need them? Now, one of the things that that Unitrends Cloud delivers is automated recovery testing. And we can do that both for your local applications, if you have a local recovery, but we can also do it in the Unitrends Cloud. And we use an application called Recovery Assurance Software, and it works with your backup appliances to automatically test and certify, that actually produces a report that documents your recovery capabilities, objectives, and whether the SLAs can be met ahead of time. The other thing that Unitrends Cloud can do is we can do physical seeding. And this is really to minimize the amount of time it takes you to set up a cloud recovery site. You can ship us some media that has terabytes and terabytes of data, and we can then use that to set up your long-term retention as well as your recovery. This saves a lot of time, and it also minimizes the impact on your network. And on the flip side, we can do a 24-hour data ship. So let's say your data center gets wiped out in a flood or in a fire, and you need to recover all of that data. We guarantee to ship you media within 24 hours that would have all of your recovery files, so that we don't have to depend on WAN speeds in order to restore your data center. And all of this is supported through white glove service by Unitrends Services. And we'll get into greater detail in that later on. But basically, one call and discuss all of the services and capabilities that we talk about going forward from here. The other thing that Unitrends Cloud offers, simple pricing. One low price per gigabit of protected data. No additional fees, no recovery fees, no movement fees, or any other sort of fees on top of it. It's just a one-time, one per gig cost. And Unitrends Cloud actually offers 2 DRaaS options. One is unlimited DRaaS, and you can spin up an unlimited number of VMware or Hyper-V VMs or physical Windows servers based on your capacity with your Forever Cloud account. So unlimited disaster recovery. But we also offer a premium service, which is we will guarantee with a 1-hour SLA a spin-up time of 1 hour. Now, most of our recoveries actually are measured in seconds or in minutes, thanks to recovery assurance testing, but we do provide the 1-hour spin-up SLA so that you can report that to management and use that for compliance purposes. We also offer some WAN optimization capabilities. We will do compression, but we also offer data deduplication. And our deduplication combines both inline and global byte level data duplication to get the greatest compression rates, sometimes 1 to 20, depending on the type of data and how often it's backed up and so forth. So Unitrends adaptive data duplication is an integral part of all of our backup appliances, and it can really optimize your capacity, your WAN utilization. It minimizes your backup times, and it maximizes retention and storage volumes. And we also can provide faster recovery times. Both Amazon and Azure have a process where they have to move data from their storage into their recovery area. And this is WAN-based, so it will take some extra time to move that data across. In fact, if you're using your archive data in a service such as Amazon Glacier, Amazon tells you it can take up to 4 hours to access that data. With Unitrends, the data is stored at the same location as the recovery, so that's why we can offer recovery literally in seconds or minutes. And finally, Unitrends services. This is really a point that we're very proud of. Our service techs are all based here in the United States, actually in Columbia, South Carolina, and they're co-located with our engineering team. So they literally exist in the same floor in the same building. They cover all our products, so you literally make one call and it covers the entire solution. We have a 98% customer satisfaction rating, and every member of Unitrends receives a report every single day outlining the service calls and whether the customers were satisfied or not. We take it that seriously. And we also use predictive analytics software to anticipate hardware and software issues, and we fix many of these before you even know you have an addition. Okay, so those are the services that are difference between a hyperscale cloud and Unitrends continuity cloud. Now let's talk about speed. And this is, if you go to Microsoft, you go to Amazon and ask them about their recovery point objectives and their recovery times, they will tell you that it's generally measured in hours. And ours is seconds or minutes. And as I told you before, we do offer a 1-hour recovery SLA. It's very critical that, and the reason that we're able to do this is, again, because of recovery assurance. The testing in advance and knowing that everything is lined up, all the data is there, the applications are the right versions, and so forth, so that we know in advance that we can meet these recovery times. And finally, the big topic that everyone wants to talk about is cost. And so here, Amazon and Microsoft both charge per gigabit what they call a retrieval fee. And this is the cost of moving the data, as I talked about, from their storage environment into their recovery environment. And so these fees can get quite large depending on the volume of data that you are trying to recover. Again, Unitrends Cloud, one flat fee, no retrieval fees. And so I put together several scenarios, disaster scenarios and storage scenarios, based them on about 5 terabytes of data, whether you're going to save it and store it for 1 year, 2 years, 7 years, and then a retrieval based upon a disaster, a terabyte, 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes. And in each of these, you can see that the Unitrends Cloud is dramatically less expensive than that used by both Microsoft and Amazon. I mean, literally very, very dramatic cost savings. And we're so sure of this that we have put on our website a cloud cost calculator. And if you go to the cloud cost comparison calculator full version on our website, you can search for it, it's right there. These are slide bars, and you can go ahead and adjust the scenario to meet your specific environment. And then you'll see here that the cost of Unitrends versus Amazon versus Azure. I set this for a larger environment, and again, you can see that Unitrends is 1/6 the cost of Azure, 1/4 the cost of Amazon Web Services. So I invite you to go and do this and see for yourself how much less expensive it is to use Unitrends Recovery Cloud. There's another type of data, though, that needs to be protected, and that is your SaaS-based data. And I bring this up primarily because Office 365 in the cloud, running in the cloud, is becoming a major part of many organizations' infrastructure. Now, Amazon does offer, Azure does offer some protection features, but they are not up to the standards that most companies require and need, particularly for information and applications as critical as email, SharePoint, and OneDrive. Literally, it can take up to 4 hours to recover an email that's lost if you go use Microsoft standard recovery practices. But if you get the Office 365 application from Unitrends, it's a self-service feature. You go in and you can recover your lost emails in seconds. So just to highlight some of the advantages of Unitrends Office 365 protection, there's nothing to install. It's all a cloud-based recovery application. It's automatic. It's hands-off. You literally have to do nothing as an IT professional. You log in and do your own self-service recovery. You don't have to wait for anybody else to do it for you. You literally can recover a lost email or file, folder, contact, full drive from OneDrive, for example, in seconds. Lost emails can be restored in a few clicks. You have unlimited retention. We don't limit you to gigs or any number of emails. You get unlimited retention. It's secure, it encrypts the data, and it's priced very simply per user, per month. It can even automatically detect new users that are added to the service and add them to the coverage so that you don't have to go in and do that yourself. So just to kind of summarize here, here is kind of the highlights of all of the services that Unitrends offers. So it starts with our appliances that are on-site, either our Recovery Series physical appliance or our Unitrends Backup software-based virtual appliance. All of them come with inline deduplication. It can recover for VMs and Windows. It covers both physical and virtual environments. It does real-time replication from one site to another or from one site to the cloud. They're based on hardened Linux, which is very attractive because ransomware right now is targeting Windows-based appliances, and sometimes Windows-based backup and protection devices actually become part of the ransomware attack and become just another victim. But having a hardened Linux appliance will protect you from that. And so then, using our cloud, Unitrends Cloud, we have disaster recovery as a service, either unlimited or premium, and we also do forever cloud storage and long-term protection and archiving of your data. So really, professionals, IT professionals, it's three metrics that you should keep in mind. You should never spend more than 5 minutes from login to full recovery finding and restoring a lost folder or file or whatever. The second is that you should be able to recover from a ransomware attack in less than 20 minutes. So from the identification of that attack to the time that you restored from your last successful backup. And the third metric is you as an IT professional should not be spending more than 1 hour a week in managing your backups. Set it, forget it, get reports about where the backups have been successful, be tipped off if there's an issue, and what steps you have to take in order to fix it, and you can move forward. So literally, very solid, no finger pointing, single vendor, which produces more time for you to go and spend on other parts of your job. And so this is just an image of our Recovery Series backup appliance and its connection to the Unitrends Cloud. But that appliance includes all of these features, all of this functionality, all from a single vendor, all prepackaged, pre-installed, so that you can just put it into your data center, point it to the files that you want to have recovered and stored and protected, and where you want it to be protected. It literally is quite that easy. So one vendor, one throat to choke, one rack connect and go, very easy setup. It does replication both locally and cloud if you want that. Highly secure against ransomware, and that's hardened Linux, and very high customer satisfaction ratings and more confidence for you. A couple of third-party validations. Gartner just released their latest Magic Quadrant information. Unitrends is the only vendor, backup and replication vendor, listed in Enterprise's Backup Magic Quadrant, the DRaaS Magic Quadrant, and the Market Guide for IT Resilience, Automation, and Orchestration, which is their highest level of confidence, their highest level of recovery. And DCIG Buyer's Guide, Unitrends had more recommended models than all other vendors combined, and more excellent models than all other vendors combined. So there are two third-party sites. These are available on our website. And then finally, what I wanted to do was just close here and offer a free cloud consultation. So the website at the bottom, pages.unitrends.com/cloud-consultation. Go there, put in your email address, and you can talk for free to somebody who's an expert on the cloud and using cloud for backup and data recovery, and therefore get the benefit of our insights and the best practices that we have accumulated over these years. So I got it in under 30 minutes. My objective. Thank you very much for your time and attention. And what I'll do now is I'll turn this over to Kevin, and we have some time for some questions and answers. Kevin?
Thanks, Dick. Good presentation. We've got a lot of questions that have come in. If you want to ask a question, there's still time. You can do so by typing it into the bottom right-hand corner of your player. So let's just dive right in here. First question is there a projected date for KVM integration?
KVM. I don't know that specifically. The next version of our operating system will allow Nutanix hypervisor, their Acropolis. I'm not quite sure when KVM will be coming. I'm sorry, I just don't have that information right in front of me.
Okay, next question is, what type of turnaround should we expect with a disaster recovery solution from a cloud solution in comparison to on-premise?
So with the proper testing procedures, there should be no time difference between recovering in the cloud and recovering on-site. And that's because the way the appliances work, they're copying offline, behind the scenes, the backup files into the cloud and getting them positioned there in advance. And then with recovery assurance, you're testing, constantly testing automatically. You don't have to do anything. Recovery assurance will do the testing to make sure that the recovery can happen. So when you declare a disaster, literally you'll fail over to the cloud-based applications, and that cloud application can come up as fast as if it was on-site.
Okay. Next question is, what do you consider sufficient for testing a backup solution?
You know what they say, you're never too rich, too thin, or have enough memory. You can never test too often. The nice thing about the recovery assurance is that it does the testing offline, so it doesn't subject your production systems to any sort of stress or performance hit. It depends on the availability that you want, your recovery time objective, and your recovery point objectives. And whether these applications are mission critical or general purpose, and what industry you're involved in. Obviously, if you're in the healthcare industry, in the financial industry where you need your applications up literally in minutes, then recovering, testing daily, maybe weekly, would probably be best.
Okay, where is the Unitrends cloud hosted, and is there an option for where theirs is located?
Yeah, so we have Unitrends Cloud. We have in the U.S., in Canada, the U.K., Germany, and Australia. And we very much are aware that there are data retention laws in many of these countries, particularly in the EU, where data has to be stored in the country of its origin. And we can set that up. Even for Canada, we have many Canadian customers who have requested that their data be stored and kept in Canada and not brought into the United States. So we can set that up as part of the process as well.
Is the cloud backup for Office 365 encrypted?
It can be if you want it to be.
All right. Does your DR cover Unix platforms?
It can. We need some agents in order to do that, but we can do that.
All right. And the next question is, can you repeat what the Unitrends SLAs are, please?
The SLA, the only SLA that I talked about was a 1-hour SLA with the premium DRaaS service in the cloud. We set it for 1 hour just for compliance purposes, but generally if you are doing the testing, you're going to recover in minutes or seconds. And the recovery assurance produces a report that actually documents what the recovery would have been, and many of our healthcare providers actually submit that report as part of their HIPAA audits as proof of their ability to recover. So those reports are accepted by HIPAA auditors as proof.
Okay. Can you replicate to remote data centers between appliances?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, you can control all of your remote appliances from one of the single consoles. So we have a manufacturer down in Nashville, for example, that has 7 locations across the United States and Mexico. They don't have any IT departments in those remote locations, so all of the backup and recovery is managed out of the central console that's in Nashville. So, and you can set up a star type of topography where all the backups come into a single location, or you can just use 2 remote sites to back each other up. It's entirely your call. Very easy to do and very easy to set up.
Okay, next question is, did you mention all cloud servers were on one location for backup? What if something happens like a fire? Is there an offshore second backup?
So we have backup capabilities within the cloud, so you don't have to worry about that. I think that's the question, isn't it? Kevin, can you interpret for me a little bit? I think so. I think it's basically, are we stored in one place, and what happens if something happens to that place? Oh, okay. No, we have multiple cloud locations in each of these countries, and we have processes where we back the data up within the cloud and all. So there's no single point of failure, if that's what the question was.
Okay, next question is, can you explain how after you fail over to the cloud, what does it do to return to using on-prem? How does the data sync, other things work? What should we expect?
Okay, so let's say you have a declared disaster in your primary data center, and you then turn on the applications in the cloud. The applications are now running up in the cloud, and your users then, with a network adjustment, are directed up there to use the applications. You now have bought yourself as much time as you need to get your physical data center back in operation. And we had a Salvation Army that got flooded in Wisconsin one time, and it took them a week to get their data center back up and running. But they were up and operating because their application was running in the cloud. At that point, once you have your data center back up and tested, and you're ready to flip the users back to your primary data center, you can do that at a time, in the middle of the night when you don't have a lot of users being affected. And then you can resync your files either over the WAN and in the background and get that data back down, or we can put all of the new data accumulated in cloud performance on some hard media and ship that down to you, and then just use the WAN for the last minute updates. So it really is an opportunity for you to keep your applications up and running, but then gracefully fail back without putting your applications and data in danger.
Okay. For people in Latin America, when it comes to disaster recovery, how does replication to a cloud work for them?
It would work the same way. There are no borders for the cloud. The cloud is physically located in the United States, and if you're okay with that, then the same dynamics would apply if you were an American-based company.
Next question is, are we able to recover our Azure and Colo resources to Unitrends Cloud as well as on-prem?
You can certainly do your Colo. We have an application called Boomerang, which would probably be better for Azure. And it would, what that does is it can move operating VMs from Azure to another cloud or from Azure into your data center or colo. That would probably be a better solution than, because it works so fast and it's also very inexpensive, and it works with functioning VMs. So I would probably advise going in that direction. But again, if you call and talk to our cloud expert with the address that's on the page, they could talk you through the details and understand exactly what your requirements are.
Okay. Is the cloud backup for Office 365 included in the pricing discussed?
No. So we have a per user per month charge for the Office 365. It's $3 per month per user for just Exchange, or it's $4 per month per user if you want to exchange SharePoint and OneDrive. So a flat per user per month fee, never varies, doesn't vary based upon the volume, number of emails, size of SharePoint, anything like that. It's just $3 or $4 per month per user.
All right. Next question is it possible to back up all the hosts on the vCenter server and its VMs?
Yes. Yes. I was expecting more to that question, but yes. Okay.
Okay. Next question is, how does Unitrends deal with the EU's GDPR?
The GDPR, I'm assuming, is the requirement to keeping the data within the host country. So we currently have cloud deployments in the UK and Germany, and so any German data stays in Germany, and any UK data stays in the UK. If there was a large opportunity in another country, we would be, obviously interested in talking about it, and could assist in setting that process up as well.
Okay, next question is, how does an organization connect to the Unitrends cloud?
Through the web, through the internet. So there'd be a WAN connection, there's the back off, the WAN for data backups and so forth. And then if your users, if there was a disaster, then your network, you would flip your network and point to the Unitrends cloud. I think that answers the question. I'm not quite sure what the question was getting at, but it's standard internet connectivity.
All right. Next question is, what hypervisors are supported for VM backup and recovery?
Agentless would be VMware, Hyper-V, and Windows Physical. And then we have agents that would support pretty much every other operating system, Linux variants, including Ubuntu and Red Hat and SUSE, and as well as some of the proprietary applications such as IS-400 and things like that. We have on our website we have a compatibility matrix. And currently, I think there's about 2,500 applications, operating systems, hypervisors, and all listed on that we can work with.
Okay. Next and final question is, if it's connected to the internet alone, total recovery time will depend on download speeds, ?
So you do that all in the background before you actually need to recover. So we're not waiting for a disaster before we initiate data transfer. So if the data is already in the cloud and available, tested for recovery, then the recovery can be done instantaneously.
Excellent. All right, well, we're just about out of time. As a reminder, this webinar was recorded, and you'll receive an email with a link to the on-demand version. We'll also send a note of the $100 gift card winner in that follow-up email, and we'll contact them later on this afternoon. Thanks again for joining us today, and we look forward to having you on future webinars. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.